October 30th, 2022, and this is Flashpoint.
Hi, and welcome to Flashpoint. Scary people coming to your door. Halloween or election season? Maybe a little of both. Halloween tomorrow means 9 days until Election Day. That is not to say the voting begins on November 8th. It is already underway, and the absentee returns have been massive. We seem to be on the verge of a historic turnout for a midterm. Coming up this morning, we're going to talk about what that means for the election and also for election night, which maybe could spill over into the following day as we go along with the counting. We're also going to talk about the final debate in the race for governor this past Tuesday night. I'm curious, do you know anyone who just doesn't know whether to vote for Gretchen Whitmer or Tudor Dixon? Is it possible that you're undecided? Because the delineations between these two candidates are pretty clear. It is really hard to find any areas of agreement between the two. We're going to talk about the debate performances coming up and point our way toward Election Day. And then I wanted to get to a column that was written this past week by a former columnist at the Detroit Free Press, Rochelle Riley. She noted that right now the press on Detroit is really good. The take beyond Michigan is pretty bullish on the Motor City. So why isn't that the case among those of us who live here? Rochelle detects way too much negativity, out of step with a strong Detroit moment, and she's here today too. All on Flashpoint. I want to start this morning by talking about the voting that has already taken place. It is an enormous haul so far, and Dennis Darnoy, frequent guest of ours of Densar Consulting, has been drilling down into those numbers. Dennis, we knew that we had the feeling with voter activation or engagement, as it's referred to among pollsters, is pretty much close to an all-time high. But this is extraordinary, the number of absentee ballots that have come in.
Yeah, we're seeing what we saw in 2020, and that is people are voting by the droves, absentee. We're nearing right now 1 million votes absentee. The expectation is by Election Day, it's going to be 1.7, maybe as high as 2.2 million voters just on absentee alone.
So for those saying, oh, well, it's just like it has been before. No, that was a presidential election.
Exactly.
For a midterm. This is kind of astonishing.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is, what we are seeing is actually it's now both sides who are taking advantage of it.
That's one of the things that you've found, because the playbook has been, for most of us, oh, well, these absentee ballots are mostly going to be Democrats, because in fact, we've even seen Republicans urging Republican voters not to vote absentee.
Right.
I think it's a weird strategy to not tell people not to vote,
right,
but you're starting to watch that change.
Yeah, we are. So in 2020, Republicans essentially ceded the absentee field to Democrats, and the majority, overwhelming majority, voted at the ballot box. What we've seen now is we actually have 21 counties who voted for Trump in 2016 who have returned ballots at a 100% higher rate than they did in 2020. So before, you know, back in the olden times when I was young, Republicans actually used to really go after the absentee ballot. They did. And so after ceding the field, you can see that they're getting back into it, and now Republican voters are being activated to vote absentee as well as turn out to the ballot box.
It would seem to be a reality for elections going forward. This is going to be a standard option that a lot of voters are going to want to avail themselves of.
It is, and parties, I mean, you can track your voters. You know whether they've turned out, whether they voted, when they've turned out. It's a very easy way to make sure you are mobilizing your voters. So the fact that Republicans ceded the field in 2020 was a huge tactical mistake, and I think that they recognize that. Obviously, the top of the ticket isn't, you know, hounding, as Trump did, you know, whether or not they were safe or secure. Yeah. Right now, Republicans are just like, yes, it is, and we're going to do this.
So what's your take then on what this means for election night? Because we, if we have always accepted that it's those absentee ballots that are going to come in late that created what was known as the red mirage the last time around, right, and that gave birth to a lot of wait. Something strange here happened when it was really just the way that the votes were being counted.
Right. So what we saw in 2018 and 2020 was a situation where, because Republicans almost exclusively were voting at the ballot box, the numbers for Republican candidates were incredibly high, and it looked like an inevitable Republican win. As absentee ballots votes started getting, you know, counted, and again, Michigan doesn't allow for them to early count, those are the votes that come in later. So all of a sudden, these Republican margins of victory started to decrease and decrease, and that lent itself to people saying, oh, wait, there's something going on. But the fact of the matter, it wasn't. We were just counting votes as they were coming in.
Detroit has announced that they're going to do it in reverse. They're going to count the absentee ballots first. They've been given extra time to process them, which a lot of county, as we talked about last week on the program, a lot of local clerks are not availing themselves of those 2 extra days. Doesn't allow them to count them, just allows them to get them started. But in Detroit, they're going to count the absentees first. Try to give me your thumbnail on what you expect election night to look like, and how long will it be before we have winners?
Oh, it's going to be a long time. I mean, these races in Detroit, statewide, they're going to be incredibly close. I think Detroit's taking a really smart approach by doing this, by voting, counting the absentees early. It's going to take away any arguments like we heard again in 2020, where all of a sudden these boatloads of votes were being dropped off at some center and being counted. They're going to count those votes early and say, this is what absentee is. Now let's look at the people who voted on Election Day, and that will take away a lot of the concerns that people fabricated in 2020.
Thinking November 9th, though, is going to be more of a targeted date for having winners in a lot of races.
Well,
right?
absolutely. I mean, the Attorney General, the Secretary of State has said it takes about 40 hours to account for 1.6 million votes. We're going to have above that.
Let's open our conversation to 2 more voices. Portia Roberson is here from Focus Hope, and I'm so glad to say my colleague now here at Local 4, Christy McDonald. We've known each other for so long, and now used to be a stalwart at Detroit Public TV, and before that, of course, Channel 7. But great to have you back here.
It's nice to be here.
On Flashpoint as well.
Yes.
Portia, I want to start with talking about Detroit here a little bit before we get into what happened in the debate the other night. There have not been any Detroit-specific questions in the debates. Detroiters know that their congressional races aren't particularly competitive. I'm wondering how activated Detroit voters are feeling. Is anybody talking to them?
I don't know that we're talking to them enough. And I think there's this presumption that because it's the general and not the primary, that so many more people are going to turn out to vote than voted in the midterm. I'm sorry, in the primary. In the primary, only 15% of Detroiters voted. We've got to have a bigger turnout than that if Democrats want it to go the way it should go, right? But we've got to make sure that in this next week or so that people are really talking about the importance of voting and taking advantage of early voting, right? Getting out, if you don't want to wait, just get out in this next week and vote right now, because people, I don't think, are feeling that it's that important for them, especially in Detroit.
Now, some of the issues obviously are affecting, the economy is affecting everybody.
Statewide,
some of these issues are,
right.
but nobody's talking about transit. Nobody's, a lot of these things that we typically...
housing issues, poverty,
right.
Just some of the issues that continuously are there in urban communities, particularly in Detroit, which we have not seen a lot of discussion about any of those issues from really either of the candidates.
Christy, we had the second and final debate the other night. In many ways, it felt like it went over some of the same ground from the first debate. But what was your takeaway from watching not just the second one, but putting them both together?
I think if you put them both together, you realize how important this race is right now to both of these candidates. I would almost take the first one and move it to the side a little bit. For Tudor Dixon, for her to come out and again be in everyone's homes and say, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, that's exactly what she is needed, because she does not have the ad buys, or there's just been the negative advertising against her. So for her to come out for a second, I think, strong showing for her and being able to answer a lot of things, and she didn't seem rattled. For Governor Whitmer, for her to come out and have to explain her record, which a record is great, so you can say this is what I've done. A record not so great because it can be held up against you. Both of them, their tones and things that I like to watch for is specific vocabulary, right? When we talk about things, you heard dishonest, you heard extreme, you heard dangerous, you heard election denier. These are very specific terms and tone that you heard from both candidates, which shows you how close this race is feeling to both sides.
Yeah, I think that's right. It was an interesting bingo card on some of those hot buttons. What was your takeaway, Dennis, with watching this most recent debate? Because we know the race is tightened. I keep pointing out that any second-term election is really more of a referendum on the incumbent than it is about the challenger. But Gretchen Whitmer needs to make this about the challenger.
She does, but I think, too, maybe in March of this year, we all said, oh, it's going to be a red wave. And historically, the party that has the presidency doesn't do well in these elections. Then the Supreme Court dropped Dobbs on us, and that changed the conversation and the tone and the focus. What we're seeing now is
started to talk about a blue wave right about June.
Absolutely. I mean, and so that's why you saw these large margins for Democrats in these polls. the fact that the race is tightening, I think, is just a natural conclusion that we've actually gone back to some of the issues that we were focused on in March. And Christie's right. The words that they were using were meant to target their audience, their base voters, because they need them to turn out. And Portia's spot on when she says, when we look at Detroit and the absentee votes that have already been cast, yes, it's 49% higher than it was in 2018, but the state average is 79%. So they are well below the rest of the state. So Democrats definitely need to focus on Detroit.
I go back all the time to 2016. 11,000 fewer votes cast that year in Detroit than in the previous presidential election, and 8,000 ended up being the difference in the entire election,
Yep.
right? Yeah. What was your takeaway so far on the debate?
I thought they both held their own. I have had to say that Tudor Dixon comes into a debate and does a good job, right? But I do think that there's something to be said for having that record. And I think, I continuously look at what the candidate's experience has been and what they can bring to the table. And I think that's where Tudor Dixon is light. Like, she hasn't done the work before. And I think, one of the questions was, it's easy to be critical about what you would have done when you weren't in office. And there weren't really any hard answers about what she would have done differently, in my opinion. She talks a lot about nursing homes and COVID and closing down schools. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of people died from COVID. And so, the governor took the risk, I guess I would say, in making sure we tried to stay as safe as possible here in Michigan. And I didn't hear from Tudor Dixon what she would have done differently in those circumstances. I think it's easy to be critical when you haven't been in that seat and having to make those decisions.
No doubt. But as we now start to broaden this out, Christy, and we look at the ramifications of how things further down the ballot start being affected by what's going on at the top, or are all of these being considered in their own? I'm trying to figure out how interconnected all these races are this year, or if each of these is being decided on its own merit.
I think they're all interconnected, really. I think people are looking at the larger philosophy of what they want the state of Michigan to be and how they are personally feeling in their city or in their township. We have a lot of school board races that are getting people very passionate about where they are. And they're looking at how is this going to impact me and our state legislature. We also have a redistricting. That is going to change things very much. So those are the things that I'm watching as well.
That makes it such a, none of us have ever, the candidates have never run in these districts, voters have never voted in these districts, and we've never watched them counted.
One thing I will have to say for people who are voting, and last night we heard it, just taking it back to the debate, saying, well, she's not telling you the truth. And the next, she's not telling you the truth, that I would tell people to start to source information. Take some of those things that you heard last night, take some of the things that you're seeing on the ads, do your research and to find out exactly who is telling the truth, and it's usually a lot more nuanced there, and get to know the people who are running for your state senate, for your legislature, because they're the ones that are making key decisions that will really impact what Michigan is going to be looking like in the next 4 years.
One thing to be said about absentee voting, you can sit there in front of all of your different sources of information that you want. Give me your thoughts about what's happening elsewhere down the ballot. We've talked enough about the governor's race.
Sure, and I appreciate both what Christy and Portia said, but I wonder if we're not in an era of negative partisanship, meaning it really doesn't matter what your candidate stands for as long as they're not wearing the jersey of the other team. And I think we've seen a lot of that where, whether someone is qualified for an office or not, that doesn't really seem to be preeminent in some voters' minds. And obviously we go back to 2016 and you talk about whether or not someone had the qualifications to run a country. So, when we look at some of these races and the state senate races, I think there are going to be a lot of voters who may not know a lot about the candidate that they're supporting, but they know that they're playing for their team and not the other one.
That does feel like where we are, Portia.
Absolutely. And it's scary because, particularly we talk about the attorney general race, right? I think, as a lawyer, totally unqualified on the Republican side. I don't know how he got the endorsement of, at the convention. I don't know how he's on the ticket, but he is, right? And I think there will be people who vote for him. That race is extremely close. And I think it's because people are just voting with whomever is on their team and not looking at the qualifications to be attorney general.
Even the proposals, we seem to, watching back to the governor's debate, they can't find anything to agree on except they gave a nod to each other over being mothers.
Which is its own yeoman effort again. If we do step back for a moment and say we are looking at history, we are looking at two women who are running for the top job in the state of Michigan, and they are both mothers, and I am sure they are juggling. So I will have to, we'll have to give it to them on that one.
They did actually have one area of agreement the other night, and that was that both of them are vowing not to require
The
COVID vaccine for
young
children. But other than that, trying to find any level of agreement between them seems like a fool's errand. I can't find much.
No, and there isn't. And that's, in some ways, the beauty of this election. You have two people who are diametrically opposed to where they want to take Michigan.
The beauty of this election. Yes. I've been trying to figure out what that was, and there it is.
Yeah.
One of the things, though, that I'll let both of you weigh in really quickly, I noted this in a blog the other night. Hardly anybody is talking about how historic it is that we have two women running. Mm-hmm. Not talking about it might be a sign of progress.
It might be, because it's not something that we see as unusual anymore, right? And I think that that's fantastic, not only for the women of Michigan, but for girls and boys of Michigan, that they see this as par for the course.
And the next 2 weeks are going to be intense, let's be honest, in what we're going to be watching.
I would like to take the week off, I think.
You can't, Devin. You've got to come back.
Yes, we'll be here. Yeah. Gang, thanks very much for a really interesting conversation. When we come back, you remember the old Say Nice Things About Detroit campaign? Emily Gale still spreading that word everywhere. Well, it's happening. A lot of great things are being said about Detroit. They don't always seem to be coming from Detroiters. Rochelle Riley, my guest next when Flashpoint continues.
DTE's natural gas is a lot more than just an energy source. It perks up your mornings and eases you into relaxed evenings. It works both hard and smart. It can help heal the body and transport the mind. And at the end of the day, cleaner, safe, affordable natural gas is there to do more than just dry your clothes. It's a warm hug waiting to happen. DTE.
It's the #1 Black Friday sale in Detroit, and it's at Gardner White. Beat the clock. Shop Sunday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And get a Black Friday bonus extra $50 off. Plus, save an extra 25% off store-wide. Plus, 0% financing for 50 months. Living rooms, dining rooms, and bedrooms, all Black Friday priced. And we have it in stock with free same-day delivery. Only at Gardner White, Detroit's #1 Black Friday furniture store, Sunday.
Right on time. You still got it.
Life. Smart. You.
For 75 years, we've been telling your stories. Now, see how it all began.
We built this station brick by brick.
How WDIV rose from last to first.
I said, Sparky, I'll bet you that we are #1 with our newscasts before you're #1 with the Tigers.
And became Detroit's local news station.
It caught on. I was just excited to be a part of it, really, because I believed it too.
Friday at 9 on Local 4. Brought to you in part by Smart.
And welcome back. Rochelle Riley left the Detroit Free Press some time ago, so it was a treat to see her words again in the paper this past week. Frequent guest back in the days when she was at the Free Press on Flashpoint. It is great to have you back.
Thank you so much, Devin.
And the column that you wrote really registered with me and a lot of other people, because you wrote that right now Detroit is getting amazing press in so many different ways. It's on lists of the cities to visit this year. New York Times has written about, USA Today, on, but you note that the pessimism is coming from inside the house rather than outside.
You know, I love my city so much, and what I can't figure out is why people feel like that they have to self-beat like all the time. Mm-hmm. I don't care how great things are, we beat ourselves up worse than anyone ever could, worse than anyone ever has. The challenge is it's not true anymore. So we can't continue to do that.
Well, I did, though, as I was reading it, I as much as it registered with me, I also could hear the voices of some people in the neighborhoods where things are still tough, going, you know what, I've still got way too much crime living around me. I've got dilapidated houses falling down on my block, and you want to tell me about this nice skyscraper that's going up downtown.
Oh, no, not
right?
me. I'm not interested in the skyscraper. So here's the thing. All of the work I'm doing as Director of Arts and Culture for the city is in the neighborhoods. The Belt Alley that's downtown, we're doing that in the neighborhoods, 8 of them. I think what people fail to realize is when you're turning a ship, it's not like a boat where, okay, you think things are good, so let's just zoom right on. If you literally look around and see how different it is now than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. When I got here 20 years ago, there wasn't even a drugstore in town. I mean, literally, we are seeing this resurgence of what's happening in the neighborhoods. And if you are looking at your neighborhood and it's not looking like you want to, get together and do something about it. Don't just complain about it. And there are so many ways to get some help. I want people to love it. I want people to feel this sense of pride about it.
There have been so many challenges to that, though. COVID, now inflation that has moved food prices, for example, sky high. We still struggle with transit. I mean, we still have a long list of things to solve and fix.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's why, to your point, it is an aircraft carrier. It doesn't turn on a dime.
Here's what concerns me most. Inflation is affecting every city, every state. All of the problems that we have are happening someplace else. I don't want us to ignore the problems. Oh my God, the press releases that come out of City Hall are everything. Affordable housing, the Detroit Promise, you can go to college for free, job training. There's lots of stuff that's happening. All I want you to do is try to balance it out a little bit and say, okay, well, this is not happening the way I want to, but look at this. And the other thing is this whole thing we have about Detroit, the 2 Detroits, and there's Detroit downtown, that's for some people, and then the neighbor. Downtown is my Detroit. I don't care what neighborhood I live in. I'm excited by what's happening down there. I want that to be a part of my life, but that doesn't mean I don't want something that's right on my block. So let's work together and try to get to a point where we are literally not always, you know, like beating ourselves up.
We do have a self-flagellation problem, there's no doubt about that. But one of the things that I love about your role now is to be surrounded talking about art all the time.
Yes.
I've said on the program before, science makes life possible, art makes life worth living.
That's
a big part of that is the murals that we've got now all over the city. And this is the video that you are, in fact, we're debuting it right now.
Yes, you are.
To kind of give you an idea of what is happening now in what has become a real calling card for the city of Detroit, among the greatest cities in the country for its mural art. Here's a look at that.
In Detroit, we use our streets, we use our walls, we use our city for art. It gives insight into a city's culture and personality. It turns brick into canvas and mortar into museums. Only 3 cities in America do murals better than we do. Now we might be number 4, but we're aiming for number 1. In Detroit, soon you'll be able to use your smartphone in front of any mural and meet the artist who did it. Or you can see the murals without leaving home. Our mural map will show you where all the murals are and let you plan a tour of your favorites. Visit DetroitArtsAndCulture.com. See why Detroit is a leader in street art. And yes, we're that good.
Now considered among the top 4 cities in the country for our mural art. And it's so funny, when you really get down to it, it is born out of a graffiti culture.
Absolutely.
Way back when, right?
When the mayor started city walls, it was to get rid of graffiti and bad stuff. And it's just like, it's a great metaphor for Detroit. We're going from where we were and turning it into something beautiful. It's going to take some time, but let's work together and do it.
A nice boost to talk about it today. And it's so good to have you back again, Rochelle.
Thank
to
you.
See you, because I know you're thriving. You're loving what you're doing.
I absolutely
love it. Great to see you happy, too.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. That's going to do it for this morning on Flashpoint. Thanks so much for, in fact, I got to take a break. That's what I've got to do. We'll continue with more on Flashpoint right after this.